Welcome into Brewers Daily, your home for Brewers content every single day. I am your host, Dave Gasper. You can follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. And we are here live in Orlando at the winter meetings as things have really started to kick up here in Orlando as day 2 is wrapped up and done. And now we are on to day 3. But on day 2, we finally saw some big time activity here at the winter meetings. Kyle Schwarber was able to sign with the Philadelphia Phillies for 5 years, $150 million. That kind of broke things open. And then a few minutes later, like not even 5 minutes later, Edwin Diaz ends up signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers because, of course, he did. Of course, the Dodgers did it because they just have money to throw around. $69 million for 3 years for Edwin Diaz. He ends up going to Los Angeles and he ends up leaving New York, which could have quite the impact on the Milwaukee Brewers, but we'll get to that coming up here in the show. But those are really kind of some of the big moves that ended up happening today, or happening here on day 2 of the winter meetings. And that's going to kind of kickstart some things in the market here, hopefully seeing one of the top hitters go off the board, one of the top relief pitchers go. And that's really kind of the big thing, because Schwarber was rumored for a couple of NL Central teams. He was rumored that the Cincinnati Reds had interest in him. The Pittsburgh Pirates also had interest. I was not fully believing that he was ever going to sign with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but hey, I mean, they were throwing money out there. But 5 years, $150 for Schwarber. He stays out of the NL Central, which is more than fine by me. Had enough of seeing him in the division when he was with the Cubs. Glad to see him just kind of stay out there in Philly. It seemed like it was the one that made the most sense. The Orioles put in a similar offer, and he still ended up signing back with Philly. So that's good for him. He ends up getting his deal, and now that should open things up for the rest of the market here. And not entirely surprised by any of that. Also, on day 2 of the winter meetings was Pat Murphy's press conference with the media, where he just kind of he's there for 20 minutes chatting. And talking about his team. And of course, he had to spend the first about 5 minutes introducing himself and having all the other reporters introduce themselves at the press conference, which is, very standard Pat Murphy. But there were some important things to take away from what he talked about. Some of it was just kind of, there's not really much to that, but some important things. One of the biggest takeaways for me listening to Pat Murphy's press conference was towards the end. It was asked by Adam McCalvy of MLB.com, and he was asked about Joey Ortiz and Bryce Turang in that shortstop, second base position up the middle, and if they would consider flipping those guys next year, because during spring training this past season, it seemed like the Brewers were set to go with Bryce Turang as their shortstop. And then Turang's shoulder started balking at him a little bit, and they decided, okay, we're just going to move you back to second base. Joey Ortiz is going to get the shortstop job, and they just kept it that way the rest of the year. So Murphy was asked, like, hey, are you going to reconsider it next year, putting Turang back over there with the kind of more proper buildup? And Pat Murphy, the answer that he gave, talking about how great Joey Ortiz was defensively, you can't just replicate that. You can't just change it over that position just because you want some better offensive juice from that spot. So it sounds Pat Murphy ended with I don't think that changes. So it sounds like it's pretty clear. Joey Ortiz is going to be your shortstop heading into next year. Bryce Turang is going to stay at second base. There's not going to be any sort of a change there. That was really kind of the big takeaway from that conversation. But also, I mean, he added in as well on Joey Ortiz that, defensively, he was really, really good. Offensively, you want more offensive production. Pat Murphy said Joey Ortiz is going to give us more. That he is going to, that he can be a really good offensive player, and he expects a better season out of him next year. His confidence maybe was a bit shaken this past season, which is understandable, but all the tools are there. And so Pat Murphy believes that you're going to see a much better version of Joey Ortiz offensively next season, which would be great because you really can't afford to see a worse offensive version than Joey Ortiz next year. You need to have him be doing at least a little bit better, but at least providing that defense at shortstop is important, is what the Brewers have been looking for. So great to see for that. But yeah, the main thing there, they are not switching positions. It's going to remain Joey at shortstop and Bryce Turang at second base. So that was kind of the big takeaway from that. Also, Pat Murphy loves him some Freddie Peralta, loves him some Brandon Woodruff. Not really, big shockers there. And it's Freddie Peralta obviously drew a lot of, questions there about, what's coming up for him because there have been the trade rumors. And Pat Murphy recognizes that he's going to get himself a very nice contract coming up next year. He wouldn't dive into the whole trade rumor stuff, but when it comes to the contract, Pat Murphy said that he can buy himself a lot of acreage with the money that he's going to be due. Maybe beachfront acreage, maybe buy himself a couple of islands, multiple islands. Maybe just typical Murph fashion, how he talks about his guys. But yeah, Freddie Peralta is going to end up getting the bag. He is going to get quite a bit of money when he hits free agency. It's not going to be from the Brewers. Murph didn't say that specifically, but I mean, we all kind of know it's not going to end up being back with the Milwaukee Brewers. But it's looking like he's still going to stick around with Milwaukee for next season until then he hits free agency after 2026. So, I mean, those are really kind of the big things. And also talked about the World Baseball Classic coming up here and how he expects lots of Brewers to be participating in the World Baseball Classic this next year. William Contreras, Jackson Chourio, Freddie Peralta, guys like that. He expects a number of them to be in the World Baseball Classic, and also mentioned a surprising one. Apparently, Team Great Britain is trying to get Caleb Durbin on their team. They're trying to convince him to play for Team Great Britain. As far as I know, I could not find any connection for Caleb Durbin to Great Britain. He was born and raised in Illinois. As far as I can tell, both of his parents are American citizens. I don't think either of them have British citizenship. So as for how that works for Team Great Britain, I got no idea. But apparently they're trying to get him. So we'll see if Caleb Durbin ends up playing for the Brits. But the Brewers actually end up playing Great Britain in spring training next year. They have an exhibition against them before the World Baseball Classic ends up getting going. So that will be interesting if Caleb Durbin's on the other side for that game. But also, I mean, what kind of really prompted that discussion was the big news of day two here at the winter meetings for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's Bryce Turang being named to Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. Congratulations to him. So well deserved. He's going to join a middle infield with Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson. It is a fantastic group. I mean, Bryce Turang has played for Team USA before on the U18 and like U14 teams when he was in high school. So he has some experience with USA Baseball, and now he's able to join the team again and will be with them for the World Baseball Classic. So that's fun. I mean, that's very exciting for Bryce Turang, who's been a great young player. He really blossomed this season with the Brewers. The power surge was finally there. We know how great he is defensively, being a Platinum Glove Award winner. So, to see him be able to, take that next step and now participate for USA in the World Baseball Classic, it's just going to be great. It's just going to make it that much more fun to watch the World Baseball Classic next year when you have a Brewers player on it, because if you're here in America, you're going to be rooting for Team USA, and to have one of your guys to have Bryce Turang on that team, it's just going to make it that much sweeter and that much more fun to root for them and root for Bryce Turang's success as well. To have those big moments. So very excited for that. Very excited for Bryce Turang. He's thrilled with the opportunity. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch next year. But Turang's not going to be the only Brewer. We haven't seen the other ones named yet, but you can imagine, Contreras and Peralta and Chourio and a bunch of these other players are going to end up playing for their respective countries when it comes to the World Baseball Classic. South Philly probably going to play for Team Italy again as well. So it just kind of adds to that flavor. And finally here, we also saw this kind of breakthrough here in the trade rumors section. We haven't seen an actual transaction yet, but still, the rumors are circulating on Trevor Megill. Now, we've talked about this previously. quite a few times on Brewers Daily here. And Trevor Megill is continuing to draw interest. Joel Sherman of the New York Post put this out there that Megill is drawing trade interest from the Mets and the Yankees, plus more teams. So those are just the two that we know about, but there are more in the market for Megill as well. The closer market, we are seeing move. We are seeing things happen in it. We just saw Edwin Diaz, as I just talked about, we just saw Edwin Diaz sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That means he's not signing back with the New York Mets. So the New York Mets' interest, and this report from Sherman came out from before Edwin Diaz ended up signing. So now that Diaz is gone, I think their interest is going to go even higher over there in New York and Trevor Megill, because they're going to look for someone else there to help that back end of their bullpen. So Trevor Megill, I mean, with the closer market the way that it is, teams are paying. The Brewers might need to strike while the iron is hot, and teams are willing to look and go and get their guys. So you have lots of teams that are interested, including the Mets and the Yankees. The Brewers did a deal with the Yankees for a closer last year. Didn't go particularly well for the Yankees, but hey, if they want to try it again and give the Brewers a Rookie of the Year finalist, I'm sure the Brewers would be happy to oblige. Because we've seen the price tag for these closers. When Jose Ferrer, who's not really an established closer, but he does have 4 years of control, when he goes for a top 50 prospect in Harry Ford plus a throw-in pitching prospect, that sets a pretty high bar. So with 2 years of control over Trevor Megill, he's set to earn about $4.2 million this next year. He's 32 years old. You should be able to get a pretty solid return for 2 years of control over a very established closer for a very modest price. Because after seeing what Edwin Diaz goes for, 3 years and $69 million, $4 million for this year for Trevor Megill seems like an absolute bargain. So that's going to cost you at least a little bit in terms of prospects, but that's something that the Brewers appear to be seriously entertaining, a Trevor Megill trade, which makes a lot of sense given the makeup of their bullpen, given the spot that he's in, where the Brewers are, and how they can address their roster needs. A Trevor Megill trade does make a lot more sense than perhaps a Freddie Peralta trade does at this point. So, two teams to watch there, the Mets and the Yankees for sure on Trevor Megill. And there are more invested in that closers market as well that could be lurking and could be looking to make a move, because there's only so many closers left out there. Now that Diaz is off the board, now you're looking at Pete Fairbanks as likely your best available closer out there on the market. So big possibility for the Brewers to strike here. A lot more teams are looking for closers than there are closers available. So Matt Arnold, he's going to have those conversations, and he's going to have to get on it here as things continue on at the winter meetings, and they'll continue on. I mean, this is going to be the last day coming up here on Wednesday. You got the Rule 5 draft, and then after that, it's pretty much out the door. Everyone is flying home and heading back, and they'll continue their conversations there. So we've at least seen a couple of signings, at least seen a couple of moves here. We saw like a Vaughn Grissom trade, between the Angels and Red Sox, kind of a minor deal that ended up happening. But we saw a couple of big signings. So we have some activity here at the winter meetings. The Brewers haven't really done anything yet, but we shall see if that remains the case or if they end up doing something here on this final day. And whatever it is, we'll keep you updated here on Brewers Daily, dive into whatever moves they end up making. And of course, also follow me on Twitter at dgasper24, and I'll have reaction and updates and analysis on there as well as soon as it happens. And I'm very excited to see what they may end up having in store. And we'll then talk about it again on the next edition of Brewers Daily. So thank you for listening, and we'll continue with our winter meetings coverage tomorrow, and it'll be a good time. So this has been Brewers Daily.